If you are playing Stormbringer Enhancement Shaman in Raid, you will want to be playing Elemental Blast. Elemental Blast is a single target spender. It is a stronger version of Lightning Bolt that benefits from every type of wolf. There are a lot of upsides and there are also a lot of downsides, but the most important one is that it is a pure single target increase to burst DPS in Lust. There is a simplified method to use Elemental Blast properly. You will want to use Elemental Blast where you would normally cast Lightning Bolt if you have 4 or more wolves of any element active. Aside from that, the most important thing to do is that you want to have at least one charge at the end of your Lusted Ascendance. As long as you are not incredibly unlucky, this will coincide with an overlap of 2 casts of Feral Spirits, and you will be using an Elemental Blast with 8 to 10 wolves active, which will be a massive multiplier, and this cast can crit for 13 mil or possibly even more. Now, there are some more complex concepts behind the use of Elemental Blast. Concept 3 is that you want to be tracking the duration of the 3 wolves from Feral Spirit, and weaving your tempests in such a way that you are dumping your charges of Elemental Blast near the end of the duration of your Feral Spirits. We are doing this to maximize the amount of wolves that are active every time we cast Elemental Blast. Concept 4 is that if we have just cast Primordial Wave and we will be able to proc Tempest in our next spender, we should use an Elemental Blast to advance towards that Tempest so that our Primordial Wave is being consumed by a Tempest. And some small alterations we make to our gameplay while playing Elemental Blast: we will always be looking to save Feral Spirits so that it can be cast directly before Ascendance, and we should also precast Elemental Blast on a raid boss for an extra 3% stat or 6% mastery in the opener. Now, to talk a bit about using Elemental Blast in Mythic Plus, the reason it isn't so popular is because most of its power is in its single target damage in Lust. It has very little benefit on any AoE pool. It is technically higher funnel damage to use Elemental Blast on AoE occasionally. However, you sacrifice the entirety of your Chain Lightning cast to do a minor amount more single target. So in most situations, Tempest Strikes will give you more priority damage. There are some situations where Elemental Blast is good. I like it in Stone Vault because we lost 2 bosses and it's very good for the Scumrack DPS check, but I think Tempest Strikes is the default better pick most of the time. Now, to talk a bit about other single target things that aren't Elemental Blast. If you're on Sikran or Nexus Princess, you will be playing a build that takes Ice Strike and Hailstorm. Don't worry too much about these spells, just use them as low priority filler when you have nothing else or you are out of range. To talk about Primordial Wave usage on single target, you do want to use it with Tempest or Arc Discharge. This is because if you use Primordial Wave with Tempest, it will proc Arc Discharge, which will increase the damage of your wave's Lightning Bolt by 40%. However, because it is single target, this is not always possible, and you don't want to delay your cast of Primordial Wave to line it up with a Tempest. So you just have to know that only if it is possible, you would prefer to consume Primordial Wave in this way, but you don't need to force it every time. Now, in none of my other videos have I ever spoke about the general single target rotation, because I think it is quite straightforward outside of the concepts I previously mentioned in this video. You will build with Stormstrike and spend on Lightning Bolt. You will try to spend on 8 to 10, but if you don't have Stormstrikes, you will spend lower. If you're spending on a Tempest or Elemental Blast, you will generally try a bit harder to get to 10 to spend, otherwise you're fine to just spend lower. And when you can't do these things, you will press your other filler spells, and when you are in Ascendance, you can simply spam Windstrike on single target. There is no need to manually cast Tempest. So here is a clip of me doing the single target Elemental Blast opener. I don't have any clips from raids, so this is a clip from a dungeon, and I have some pre-stacked Tempests, which you wouldn't normally have in a raid. I go in, I press Wave, Wolves, I press my Tempests, and then I enter my Ascendance. I will be pressing Windstrike every global, just to generate as much as possible to get my Wolves up. My Wolves come up, I press them, and now I have 10 Wolves, full Maelstrom. I'm ready to press Elemental Blast. I press it, it hits 18.6 million, and I have 2 seconds left on my first cast of Wolves, so I will just press a few Windstrikes here to generate back up, and I press my second Elemental Blast here. It only does about 5 mil damage because it was cast with low Maelstrom stacks and it didn't crit. And I'm doing 8 million DPS here, and that is the power of Elemental Blast in the Lust opener.